As the great Buddha wisely proclaimed, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Yet, in today's fast-paced world, that sense of peace often feels like a distant dream. We find ourselves pulled in countless directions, balancing work, relationships, responsibilities, and the relentless demands of daily life. Amidst this whirlwind, discovering true inner calm can feel impossible. We tell ourselves that once we secure our jobs, find stability in our relationships, or overcome our current struggles, then, finally, we will experience peace. But what if the tranquility we seek isn't something to be pursued in the external world at all? What if it has been within us all along, waiting to be uncovered? This fundamental shift in perspective is at the heart of Buddhist philosophy. True peace is not dependent on external circumstances. It is cultivated from within, regardless of the chaos that surrounds us. Today, we embark on a journey to explore the profound teachings of Buddhism and the practices that allow us to nurture inner tranquility. We will dive deep into meditation techniques that quiet the restless mind, mindfulness strategies that ground us in the present moment, and transformative insights that reshape our relationship with stress and adversity. By embracing these ancient yet timeless practices, we can build a foundation of serenity, one that remains unshaken no matter how turbulent life becomes. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture a vast, calm ocean. The surface may be disturbed by waves, but deep beneath, the water remains still, untouched by the winds above. This is the nature of our mind. At the surface, thoughts swirl endlessly, worries, fears, distractions. But beneath this mental turbulence lies an ocean of stillness. Our goal is not to silence the waves, but to dive deeper, to find the unshakable calm that already exists within us. Understanding the nature of the mind. To cultivate peace, we must first understand our own minds. In Buddhist philosophy, the mind is often compared to a monkey, restless, easily distracted, swinging from thought to thought without pause. This concept, known as the monkey mind, explains why we often feel scattered, overwhelmed, and unable to find true calm. Our minds rarely remain still. They process an endless stream of information, react impulsively to external stimuli, and generate thoughts that spiral into stress and anxiety. But here's the crucial truth. Peace is not achieved by suppressing thoughts or forcing the mind into stillness. In fact, resisting our natural thought processes only fuels frustration and self-doubt. Instead, Buddhism teaches us to observe our thoughts without attachment. Imagine sitting beside a river, watching leaves float downstream. Each leaf represents a thought. Rather than reaching out to grab them, we simply observe them drifting by. This practice, mindfulness meditation, trains us to witness our thoughts without being consumed by them. With consistent practice, we begin to see that our thoughts are not who we are. They arise and pass like clouds in the sky, temporary and ever-changing. By learning to step back and observe rather than react, we cultivate a profound sense of clarity and calm. Mindfulness meditation is one of the most powerful tools in this journey. When a stressful or negative thought arises, instead of engaging with it or letting it spiral into deeper worry, we acknowledge its presence and let it pass. This simple yet transformative act creates space between our thoughts and our reactions. It allows us to navigate life with greater wisdom rather than being ruled by fleeting emotions. Over time, as we return our focus to the present moment again and again, the mind becomes quieter. The noise of anxiety and stress gradually fades, revealing a deeper state of inner stillness. Shifting from self-blame to self-compassion. Many of us struggle with an internal critic, a voice that tells us we are not doing enough, not good enough, not strong enough. When we try to quiet our minds and fail, we judge ourselves harshly, but this judgment only adds to our suffering. Buddhism teaches us to replace self-criticism with self-compassion. Instead of berating ourselves for having a restless mind, we recognize that this restlessness is natural. The mind, like the ocean, will always have waves. Our goal is not to eliminate them, but to learn how to navigate them with grace. With this perspective, we stop seeing the restless mind as an enemy and begin treating it with patience and kindness. We approach our practice not as a test of endurance, but as a journey of gentle exploration. As our mindfulness practice deepens, we become more attuned to the subtleties of our inner world. We start noticing our habitual thought patterns, the ways we react to stress, the emotions that trigger us, the stories we tell ourselves. This awareness is a gift. It empowers us to respond to life's challenges with wisdom rather than impulse. For example, imagine encountering a stressful situation, a conflict at work, an unexpected setback, or a difficult conversation. Instead of reacting emotionally as we may have in the past, we pause. We observe our internal response, and in that space, we make a choice. Do we react with frustration, or do we respond with calm and clarity? This ability to choose our response rather than being ruled by emotions is one of the greatest gifts of mindfulness. Embracing the present moment. So often, our minds are trapped in the past, reliving regrets, replaying mistakes, dwelling on things we cannot change. Or we are consumed by the future, worrying about what might happen, creating scenarios that may never come to pass. But peace exists only in the present. Right now, in this very moment, we have everything we need to be at peace. The sound of our breath, the sensation of our feet on the ground, the simple awareness of being alive. By anchoring ourselves in the present, we step out of the endless cycle of regret and anxiety. We shift from being lost in thought to being fully engaged with life as it is happening. This shift is subtle but profound. It allows us to appreciate the beauty in simple moments, to find joy in a cup of tea, in the warmth of the sun, in the sound of laughter. The power of impermanence. One of the most liberating teachings in Buddhism is the concept of impermanence. Everything in life is in a constant state of change. Our thoughts, our emotions, our circumstances, none of them are permanent. When we truly understand impermanence, we stop clinging. We stop holding on to things that are meant to pass. We learn to let go, not with despair, but with acceptance and peace. This understanding transforms our relationship with stress. When a difficult emotion arises, we remind ourselves, this too shall pass. When we face hardship, we recognize that it is temporary. And when we experience moments of joy, we cherish them, knowing they are fleeting. This wisdom does not make life less challenging, but it changes how we experience it. We stop resisting the natural flow of life and instead learn to move with it. Building a foundation of inner peace. Meditation, mindfulness, self-compassion, and an understanding of impermanence. Together, these practices lay the foundation for a mind that is calm and unshaken. This journey is not about achieving a state of perfect stillness. It is about cultivating resilience. It is about training the mind to remain steady even in the face of life's inevitable storms. And as we continue on this path, we come to a profound realization. The peace we have been searching for has been within us all along. Stay with us as we continue to explore the path to true inner peace, one breath at a time. Energy is one of our most precious resources. It shapes our ability to think clearly, to move through life with purpose, and to engage with the world around us in a meaningful way. But in today's world, energy is constantly drained by stress, by negativity, by the endless demands of work and relationships. We often don't even realize it happening. We wake up feeling exhausted even after a full night's sleep. We find ourselves irritated, overwhelmed, or emotionally drained for no apparent reason, and we wonder why we feel so disconnected from the peace we long for. But what if the real issue isn't a lack of energy, but the fact that we are unknowingly giving it away? Buddhism teaches that protecting our energy is as vital as protecting our physical well-being. Just as we would not leave the doors of our home open for anyone to enter, we must be mindful of what we allow into our minds and hearts. The key to lasting inner peace is not just about cultivating calm, it is about eliminating the things that quietly deplete us. Identifying energy drains. Take a moment to reflect. What in your life leaves you feeling drained? It may not always be obvious. Sometimes energy drains are disguised as normal parts of daily life. They can take the form of toxic relationships, people who constantly bring negativity into our space, leaving us feeling exhausted. They can be the environments we immerse ourselves in, cluttered spaces, chaotic workplaces, or digital overload from endless scrolling and notifications. Even our own thoughts can be energy drains. Negative self-talk, anxiety, overthinking, all of these quietly consume our mental reserves, leaving us depleted before the day even begins. But here is the truth. We have the power to protect our energy. We do not have to be at the mercy of these drains. With awareness and intention, we can create boundaries that allow us to conserve our inner peace and reclaim control over how we feel. The power of boundaries. Many people associate boundaries with shutting people out, but this is a misunderstanding. Boundaries are not about isolation, they are about balance. They allow us to engage with the world without being consumed by it. Imagine yourself as a candle. Your light is meant to illuminate, to bring warmth and clarity. But if you let everyone take from your flame without protection, you will burn out. Boundaries are the glass that shelters the flame, allowing it to shine brightly without being extinguished by the winds of the world. Setting boundaries can be as simple as learning to say no. It means recognizing when you are overcommitted, overextended, or allowing others to drain your energy unnecessarily. It means protecting your time, whether that means scheduling quiet moments for yourself, stepping away from toxic interactions, or limiting exposure to social media that leaves you feeling anxious rather than inspired. There is nothing selfish about preserving your energy. In fact, it is one of the greatest acts of self-care. When we protect our inner reserves, we have more to give to the things that truly matter. Creating an energy-supportive environment. Have you ever walked into a space and immediately felt at ease? Or conversely, entered a room and felt an inexplicable heaviness? This is because our external environments deeply influence our internal state. Buddhist principles emphasize the importance of creating a peaceful, intentional space. Clutter, noise, and chaos in our surroundings contribute to mental clutter. A disorganized space often leads to a disorganized mind. By simplifying our environment, we create room for peace to flourish. Start small. Clear a space in your home that feels restful. It does not need to be grand. A corner with a candle, a simple meditation cushion, or even a space near a window where you can breathe in fresh air. This space serves as a reminder that peace is something you cultivate, not something you chase. Nature is also a powerful energy cleanser. Whether it is a walk in the park, time spent near the ocean, or simply placing plants in your home, integrating natural elements into your daily life can restore balance. The earth has a grounding energy, one that reminds us to slow down, to breathe, to reconnect with what is essential. Guarding your mind against negativity. One of the greatest energy drains is unconscious consumption. We take in information all day, news, social media, conversations, But we rarely stop to consider how this information affects our mental state. Buddhism teaches that just as we are mindful of the food we eat, we must also be mindful of the thoughts we consume. Imagine your mind as a garden. What you allow into it will either nourish it or deplete it. If we constantly consume negativity, anger, fear, conflict, our minds will become overgrown with weeds of stress and anxiety. This is why it is so important to curate what we expose ourselves to. Choose the books you read, the shows you watch, the conversations you engage in, with the same care you would choose what you eat. If something makes you feel heavy, anxious, or drained, it may not be worth your energy. This does not mean ignoring the realities of the world. It simply means choosing when and how you engage. A mind that is constantly bombarded with stress cannot find peace. Give yourself permission to step back, to breathe, to create space for stillness. Recharging your energy reserves. Just as energy can be drained, it can also be replenished. The key is to engage in practices that restore you rather than deplete you. Meditation is one of the most powerful ways to recharge. Even 5 minutes of sitting in stillness can reset your mind, bringing clarity and calm. Focus on your breath. Let go of everything else. Each inhale fills you with fresh energy. Each exhale releases what no longer serves you. Movement also plays a role in restoring balance. Yoga, walking, stretching. All of these help release stagnant energy and create a sense of lightness. Even something as simple as standing outside, feeling the sun on your skin, can be an act of renewal. Another powerful practice is mindful rest. Many of us feel exhausted, not because we are physically tired, but because our minds never stop running. True rest is not just sleep. It is giving yourself permission to be still, to do nothing, to let go of the pressure to be constantly productive. When was the last time you allowed yourself to just be? True energy restoration comes from stillness. It comes from moments of silence, from deep breaths, from the conscious choice to step away from the noise. Choosing what deserves your energy. One of the most transformative realizations is that not everything requires your attention. Not every argument needs your involvement. Not every crisis is yours to fix. Not every demand on your time must be met. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? If something does not contribute to your peace, if it does not align with your values, if it leaves you feeling drained rather than nourished, let it go. Protecting your energy is not just about avoiding negativity. It is about making space for what uplifts you. Fill your life with things that bring joy. Surround yourself with people who inspire and support you. Choose activities that leave you feeling fulfilled rather than exhausted. In doing so, you create a life where peace is not something you seek, but something you embody. And as you walk this path, you will begin to notice a change. Your mind will feel lighter, your heart will feel freer, and you will come to realize that protecting your energy is not just an act of self-care, it is an act of self-respect. Because your peace is worth protecting. Our minds are like pathways carved by years of habits, thoughts, and reactions. Every time we experience stress, frustration, or anxiety, our minds follow familiar trails, patterns deeply ingrained over time. These thought cycles, often formed unconsciously, dictate how we see the world, how we react to challenges, and how we experience life. We tell ourselves stories. I am not good enough. This always happens to me. Things will never change. And before we realize it, these thoughts become reality, not because they are true, but because we have trained our minds to believe them. But here's the truth. We are not bound by these patterns. The mind is not a rigid structure. It is flexible, adaptable, capable of change. Just as a river carves new paths over time, we can rewire our brains and break free from the thought cycles that keep us trapped in stress and negativity. Buddhism teaches that suffering does not come from external events, but from our attachment to them, our clinging to thoughts, emotions, and interpretations that no longer serve us. By shifting our relationship with our own mind, we can break free from these patterns and step into a state of greater clarity, peace, and resilience. Becoming aware of thought patterns. The first step in this transformation is awareness. Before we can change our thought patterns, we must recognize them. Pause for a moment. Observe your thoughts. What are the stories you tell yourself? What thoughts arise when you feel stressed or overwhelmed? Are they filled with self-doubt, fear, or negativity? Most of the time, we are unaware of these thoughts as they arise. They happen automatically, like background noise we have learned to tune out. But when we begin to pay attention, we start to see the patterns. Mindfulness meditation is a powerful tool for this. In meditation, we do not seek to silence the mind, we simply observe. Thoughts come and go, and instead of engaging with them, we watch them as if they were passing clouds. Through this practice, we begin to see that our thoughts are not facts. They are simply mental events, temporary, fleeting, impermanent. And when we learn to observe them without reacting, their power over us begins to fade. Breaking free from stressful thought cycles. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path is well-worn, familiar. It leads to anxiety, frustration, and stress. You have walked this path 1,000 times before, and your mind automatically follows it. But beside it, there is another path, one that leads to peace, to clarity, to a place where you are not ruled by worry or fear. It is new, unfamiliar, and requires effort to walk. But with each step, it becomes easier. Every time you choose not to engage with a stressful thought, you take a step down this new path. Every time you pause before reacting, you reinforce a new habit. Over time, the old path fades, and the new one becomes stronger. One technique to facilitate this shift is noting. When a stressful thought arises, instead of letting it take hold, you simply label it worrying, overthinking. If your mind has spent years reinforcing patterns of worry and self-doubt, it needs something new to focus on: self-doubt. By doing this, you create distance between yourself and the thought. Instead of being consumed by it, you become an observer. This simple act of noting breaks the automatic cycle and gives you the power to redirect your mind. The power of impermanence. Buddhism teaches that everything in life, including our thoughts, is impermanent. No emotion lasts forever. No thought remains unchanged. When we remember this, we stop clinging. The next time a stressful thought arises, remind yourself, this is temporary. Do not resist it. Do not try to push it away. Simply allow it to be. Like a wave in the ocean, it will rise, peak, and eventually dissolve on its own. This realization alone is freeing. When we stop fearing our thoughts, they lose their grip on us. We learn to let them come and go without being dragged along by them. Replacing negative narratives. Breaking free from stress is not just about letting go of negative thoughts. It is also about replacing them with something better. This is where self-compassion and positive reinforcement come in. Instead of saying, "I always fail," shift your narrative to, "I am learning and growing with each experience." Instead of, "I am not good enough," remind yourself, "I am worthy exactly as I am." This is not about blind positivity. It is about training your mind to see reality more clearly, without the distortions of self-doubt and fear. Loving kindness meditation, or metta, is a powerful practice for this. It involves directing compassion toward yourself and others, repeating phrases like, "May I be happy," May I be free from suffering. May I find peace. By cultivating thoughts of kindness, love, and self-acceptance, we rewire our minds to focus on peace rather than stress. Choosing how we respond. One of the greatest gifts of mindfulness is the ability to respond rather than react. When we are caught in negative thought cycles, we react impulsively. We lash out in anger, we retreat into fear, we spiral into worry. But when we cultivate awareness, we create space between thought and action. The next time you feel stress rising, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, how do I want to respond? This moment of awareness is everything. It is the difference between being a prisoner of your thoughts and being the master of your mind. Living with greater peace. As we continue this practice, something remarkable happens. The mind, once restless and chaotic, begins to settle. The anxious thoughts lose their urgency. The moments of stillness grow longer. We begin to experience life differently, not as a series of struggles, but as a flow of moments, each one unfolding as it should. And in this space, we find the peace we have been searching for, not in controlling the external world, but in mastering our internal one. True freedom is not the absence of difficulty, it is the ability to remain calm and centered despite it, and this freedom is within reach, waiting to be uncovered. The mind is like a garden. Whatever we plant within it will grow. If we continue to nourish fear, doubt, and stress, they will flourish. But if we choose to plant mindfulness, compassion, and peace, these too will take root. Each day, with each breath, we have a choice. Do we continue following the old patterns, or do we create new ones? Do we let our thoughts control us, or do we reclaim our power? The path is always there, waiting, and with every step we take, we move closer to the unshakable peace that has been within us all along. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much we try to control it, uncertainty remains. We plan, we prepare, we set expectations, yet things rarely unfold exactly as we imagine. At times, this unpredictability can feel overwhelming. We resist it. We fight against it. We struggle to make sense of why things don't go our way. But what if the key to peace isn't found in control, but in acceptance? Buddhism teaches that suffering arises not from life's difficulties themselves, but from our resistance to them. When we cling to how things should be, we create tension within ourselves. The greater our resistance, the greater our suffering. Imagine trying to hold on to water with a clenched fist. The tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you open your hand, the water simply rests in your palm. This is the power of acceptance. It is not about giving up. It is not about passivity. Acceptance is about freeing ourselves from the burden of resistance, allowing life to flow as it naturally does, without exhausting ourselves in the fight against it. The illusion of control. We spend much of our lives chasing control, trying to predict the future, to manage outcomes, to shield ourselves from discomfort. But the truth is, control is an illusion. We cannot control how others behave. We cannot control the circumstances that arise. We cannot control the passing of time. What we can control is how we respond. Acceptance does not mean we stop striving or caring. It means we learn to work with life rather than against it. When we release the need to control everything, we open ourselves to a deeper, more effortless form of peace. Think about a river. When a rock falls into its path, the river does not stop flowing. It does not try to move the rock. It simply finds another way forward. This is how we cultivate resilience. Not by resisting what happens, but by adapting, by flowing, by embracing what is. Accepting emotions without judgment. One of the greatest challenges in acceptance is learning to embrace our emotions. We have been conditioned to believe that certain emotions are bad, that sadness, anger, fear, or grief are things to avoid. But emotions are neither good nor bad. They are simply part of being human. Instead of suppressing or rejecting them, we must learn to welcome them. When sadness arises, instead of pushing it away, acknowledge it. Sadness is here. I allow it to be. When anger flares up, instead of feeling guilty for experiencing it, observe it. Anger is here. I accept its presence. By doing this, we create space for emotions to be felt without becoming overwhelmed by them. Acceptance does not mean we let emotions dictate our actions. It means we honor them, allow them to move through us, and let them pass naturally. Imagine emotions like waves in the ocean. If we fight against them, we exhaust ourselves, but if we learn to ride them, we remain afloat. Letting go of attachments. Another key teaching in Buddhism is impermanence, the understanding that everything in life is temporary. The things we hold on to, relationships, possessions, identities, beliefs, are all subject to change. Yet we cling to them, fearing loss. This attachment creates suffering. But when we accept impermanence, we learn to appreciate things as they are, without the need to possess or control them. We love without attachment. We experience without expectation. We live with a heart that is open rather than grasping. Imagine holding a butterfly. If you grip it too tightly, you harm it. But if you allow it to rest lightly on your hand, it stays for as long as it wishes. This is the essence of letting go. Not abandonment, but freedom. Letting go does not mean we stop loving or caring. It means we stop clinging. We stop tying our happiness to things that are always changing. Finding peace in the present. So often, our suffering comes from being trapped in the past or anxiously anticipating the future. We replay old mistakes, dwell on regrets, wish things had been different, or we obsess over what's ahead, worrying, planning, fearing what we cannot yet see. But peace exists only in the present. Right now, in this moment, you are safe. Right now, in this moment, you are breathing. Right now, in this moment, you are alive. By anchoring ourselves in now, we release the weight of what was and the worry of what will be. This is why mindfulness is so powerful. When we bring full awareness to this moment, our breath, our surroundings, the sensations in our body, we break free from the cycle of endless thinking. Try this. Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs. Hold it for a moment. Now exhale slowly. Feel the release. This moment is all there is. Everything else is a story in your mind. And when we live in this awareness, we find that peace has been here all along. The strength in surrender. Many people associate surrender with weakness, but true surrender is one of the greatest strengths we can cultivate. Surrender is not about giving up, it is about trusting. It is about understanding that life has its own rhythm, its own timing, its own unfolding. It is about knowing that we do not need to have all the answers, nor do we need to control every detail. When we surrender to the flow of life, we find freedom. We stop resisting what is and start embracing what can be. We stop seeing challenges as obstacles and start recognizing them as teachers. We stop struggling against the current and start flowing with it. This is where true peace is found, not in the absence of struggle, but in the wisdom to navigate it with grace. Choosing acceptance. Every day, acceptance is not a one-time decision. It is a practice. Each day, we will face moments that challenge us. Things we cannot change, emotions that arise unexpectedly, situations that do not go as planned. And in each of these moments, we have a choice. Do we resist, or do we accept? Do we fight against reality, or do we embrace it with open arms? By choosing acceptance, we free ourselves from suffering. By choosing acceptance, we find peace, not in perfect circumstances, but in our ability to meet life as it is. Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. Because in the present, there is no resistance. In the present, there is no struggle. In the present, there is only peace. And this peace, it has been here all along, waiting for you to claim it." Life rarely unfolds in a straight line. It is full of storms, moments of chaos, uncertainty, and hardship that shake us to our core. A difficult conversation, an unexpected loss, a sudden change in circumstances. In these moments, it feels as if the ground beneath us has disappeared. Our minds race, searching for solutions, grasping for control. The chaos of the outside world mirrors the storm inside us. But what if peace is not found in escaping the storm, but in learning how to stand still within it? Buddhism teaches that true calm is not about avoiding difficulty. It is about finding stillness in the midst of it. Like the eye of a hurricane, where everything is quiet despite the swirling winds, we can cultivate an inner refuge, one that remains steady, no matter how chaotic life becomes. This stillness is not something we must find outside of ourselves. It is already within us, waiting to be uncovered. The art of non-reactivity. When faced with stress, our natural instinct is to react, to resist, to push back against what is happening. Someone insults us, and we react with anger. A problem arises, and we react with panic. A setback occurs, and we react with frustration. But every reaction is like throwing fuel onto a fire. It only intensifies the storm. Buddhism teaches us the power of non-reactivity, the ability to pause, observe, and choose our response instead of being swept away by impulse. Imagine standing at the shore, watching waves crash against the rocks. The waves do not control you, you simply observe them. This is how we must approach our emotions. When frustration arises, instead of immediately reacting, we pause. We notice it, we acknowledge it. Frustration is here, but we do not become it. Instead of fueling the emotion, we allow it to pass, like waves returning to the ocean. This small shift, choosing to observe rather than react, creates space. It gives us power over our emotions rather than allowing them to control us. Breathing through chaos. One of the simplest yet most powerful tools for finding stillness is the breath. When chaos surrounds us, our breathing becomes shallow and fast, our bodies tighten, our minds race. But the moment we bring awareness to our breath, everything changes. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. Now exhale, letting go of tension. Do this again and again. With each breath, notice the space it creates. Notice how it grounds you in the present moment, pulling you away from the storm of thoughts. Your breath is always with you. It is an anchor, a refuge. No matter what is happening around you, the breath is a doorway back to peace. The power of presence. Often, when we are overwhelmed, it is because our minds are not in the present moment. We are either stuck in the past, replaying mistakes, regrets, old wounds, or we are lost in the future, anticipating problems, imagining worst-case scenarios. But neither of these places exist. The past is gone. The future has not arrived. Peace is only found here, in this moment. Right now, you are breathing. Right now, you are safe. Right now, you are alive. When we train ourselves to return to the present, we discover that much of our suffering is unnecessary. It is created by the mind, by thoughts that pull us away from reality. Try this. Look around you. Notice the colors, the shapes. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel the sensation of the air on your skin. This is presence. This is peace. And the more we practice it, the more we strengthen our ability to remain centered, even in the face of life's storms. Letting go of resistance. One of the greatest causes of stress is resistance, the refusal to accept what is happening. Something unexpected occurs, and we resist it. A challenge arises, and we fight against it. We tell ourselves, this shouldn't be happening. But the more we resist, the more we suffer. Instead, what if we allowed things to be as they are? This does not mean we stop caring. It means we stop struggling against reality. When we surrender to the present moment, when we stop demanding that life be different, we free ourselves. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means recognizing that peace is found not in controlling life, but in flowing with it. Finding strength in stillness. Imagine a tree in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pounds, yet the tree stands firm, its roots deep in the earth. This is what inner stillness looks like. It is not the absence of difficulty. It is the ability to remain grounded despite it. And this strength is something we cultivate. Through meditation, we train the mind to be still, to return to the breath, to let go of thoughts rather than be consumed by them. Through mindfulness, we learn to meet challenges with calm rather than with resistance. Through self-awareness, we develop the wisdom to choose peace, even when chaos surrounds us. Each time we practice, our roots grow deeper, and no matter what life brings, we remain steady. The gift of perspective. When we are caught in a moment of stress, everything feels urgent, overwhelming. But step back. See the bigger picture. In a week, will this situation still matter? In a year, will you even remember this moment? In 10 years, will this still have power over you? Most of the things we stress about are temporary, and when we remember this, we stop giving them so much power. Perspective brings peace. Cultivating a quiet mind. A restless mind is like a pond disturbed by constant ripples. Every thought, every worry, every distraction keeps the surface in motion. But when we stop stirring the water, it settles. It becomes clear, still. This is why practices like meditation, breathwork, and mindfulness are so essential. They teach us how to quiet the mind, to let thoughts pass without grabbing onto them. When the mind is quiet, we see with clarity. We respond with wisdom. We experience life as it is, rather than through the filter of stress and fear. Choosing peace, again and again. Peace is not something that happens to us. It is something we choose. Each day we are given countless opportunities. Do we react or do we pause? Do we resist or do we accept? Do we let the chaos control us or do we return to stillness? This choice is always available, and the more we make it, the more natural it becomes. True peace is not the absence of storms. It is the presence of a mind that remains still within them. And when we cultivate this stillness, we no longer fear what life may bring, because no matter what happens, no matter how strong the winds blow, we know that within us there is a place of unshakable calm, a refuge, a sanctuary, a peace that nothing can take away. And it has been there all along. Our surroundings shape our inner world more than we realize. The spaces we inhabit, the sights, the sounds, the energy, can either nourish our sense of peace or quietly drain it. Think about how you feel when you step into a calm, uncluttered space. The air seems lighter. Your mind feels clearer. There is a natural ease, a sense of relaxation that settles within you. Now, contrast that with a chaotic, noisy environment. A space filled with distractions, disorder, or tension. Your body tenses. Your mind races. Stress creeps in, even before you fully recognize it. Buddhism teaches that our external world is a reflection of our internal state, and just as we cultivate peace within, we must also create an environment that supports and sustains it. This is not about luxury. It is not about grand, elaborate spaces. True peace is not found in material things. It is found in intention. When we design our surroundings with care, when we bring mindfulness into the spaces we live in, we create a sanctuary, one that nurtures our soul and reminds us again and again to return to stillness. The power of simplicity. One of the most fundamental principles in Buddhism is simplicity. Simplicity is not about deprivation. It is about clarity. It is about removing what is unnecessary so that what truly matters can shine. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. Too many distractions, too much noise, too many unfinished tasks, they create a subtle but constant mental burden. Clearing our space is like clearing our thoughts. Start small. Choose one area in your home to simplify. A desk, a corner, a room. Remove what no longer serves you. Old papers, unused items, distractions that add to the mental noise. And as you let go of the physical clutter, notice how your mind feels lighter. This is not just about organization. It is about creating space, space for clarity, space for stillness, space for peace. Bringing nature into your life. There is a reason why we feel calmer near the ocean, in the forest, or under the open sky. Nature has a way of grounding us, reminding us of what is real, what is essential. Even if we live in busy cities, we can bring elements of nature into our daily lives. A small plant on a windowsill, a fountain with the sound of flowing water, a simple walk outside, feeling the air on our skin. Nature does not rush, yet everything is accomplished. The trees do not resist the seasons, they flow with them. The river does not fight its path, it moves with grace. When we align ourselves with this natural rhythm, we too find peace. The role of light and sound. Light and sound influence our emotions in ways we often overlook. Harsh, artificial lighting can create tension. Soft, natural light fosters relaxation. Whenever possible, let in sunlight. Light a candle. Use warm, soothing tones that create a sense of calm. Sound, too, shapes our mood. The constant hum of electronics, loud noise, or chaotic environments can subtly drain us. But gentle sounds, soft instrumental music, the rustling of leaves, the sound of a gentle breeze, can bring us back to presence. Choose sounds that nourish your spirit. Create a playlist of calming music. Use chimes or bells to mark moments of mindfulness, or simply sit in silence and listen to the natural rhythms around you. Silence itself is a gift. In a world that constantly demands our attention, silence allows us to return to ourselves, creating a sacred space. You do not need an entire room to create a sacred space. Even a small corner of your home can become a refuge, a place dedicated to peace, reflection, and stillness. It could be a meditation cushion by a window, a small altar with objects that bring you serenity, a chair where you sit each morning in quiet contemplation. This space is a reminder, a place to return to when life feels overwhelming, a space where the mind knows it is time to be still. Design it with care, keep it simple, let it be a reflection of the peace you wish to cultivate. And when you enter this space, breathe deeply. Let go of the outside world. Allow yourself to simply be. Living with intention. Creating a peaceful environment is not just about the physical space. It is also about the energy we bring into it. Do we rush through our homes with stress and frustration? Do we bring in anger, tension, distractions? Or do we move with awareness, with grace, with presence? Each action, whether it is making a cup of tea, tidying a space, or lighting a candle, can be done mindfully, with intention. When we live this way, every moment becomes a meditation, every space becomes sacred, and peace is no longer something we seek, it is something we embody. Releasing the past to make room for peace. Many of us carry the weight of the past without realizing it. Old memories, unresolved emotions, regrets. All of these linger in our minds, shaping how we experience the present. But the past is gone. It exists only in our thoughts. Buddhism teaches that in order to find true peace, we must let go. Not by force, not by suppression, but by acceptance. By acknowledging what has been, without clinging to it. By understanding that the past no longer has power over us, unless we allow it to. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. You have become so accustomed to its weight that you barely notice it. But the moment you take it off, you feel the lightness, the freedom. This is what happens when we release the past. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful ways to do this. Not just forgiveness of others, but forgiveness of ourselves. We are human. We have made mistakes. We have been hurt. We have hurt others. But we do not have to carry these things forever. The moment we choose to forgive, we set ourselves free. We make space for peace. Gratitude, the gateway to contentment. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most transformative practices. It shifts our focus from what is missing to what is already here. No matter what is happening in life, there is always something to be grateful for. The warmth of the sun, the kindness of a stranger, the breath in our lungs. Gratitude brings us into the present. And in the present, there is always enough. Try this. Each day before you sleep, name 3 things you are grateful for. They do not have to be grand. Simple joys are enough. Over time, you will notice something. Your perspective shifts, your heart softens, and the peace you have been searching for feels closer than ever. The journey to inner peace. This journey is not about perfection. It is not about eliminating every challenge, every moment of stress, every difficulty. It is about learning to navigate life with grace. To return to stillness again and again, to create a space, both within and around us, that nurtures peace. To recognize that peace is not something distant. It is not something to be found in a perfect life, a perfect moment, a perfect future. It is here, now waiting to be embraced. The more we choose it, the more it becomes a part of us. And the more it becomes a part of us, the more we radiate it to the world around us. Because peace is not just for ourselves, it is a gift we offer to the world. And when enough of us cultivate it, we create something powerful. A world where stillness is not an exception, but a way of being. A world where we move with intention, with kindness, with presence. A world where peace is not something we seek, but something we are.